have the beautiful and amazing Kelly Bowen joining me. Thank you for having me. Thank you for joining me today, Kelly.
Having you, I'll have you anytime.
So, Kelly, how long have we been creating videos for now? I think it's just over 12. Oh, actually, maybe
It's
around
more. It's like a year and a half. So April 2020, I think, was when we did.
Wow, you've got a good memory.
Yeah, it's because I've got it saved in my folder.
Okay. Oh, the folder's name April 2020.
April 2020,
okay.
yeah. And then I had another one, April 2021, and I had to check between hang on a minute.
Yeah, awesome. So what I wanted to do today is obviously talk through your journey of obviously not only working with us, but also just your experience on doing videos in general, because one of the biggest things for a lot of the people that are thinking about doing videos or considering doing, any type of video content is stepping outside of your comfort zone, right? Yeah. Now, I know personally that you're a pro and you've got it all covered as it stands, but that wasn't always the case, was it?
No.
It's not. So
we all have to start somewhere.
Exactly. So I'd love to know, I'm going to sort of talk from my own experience as well, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts were. The first time that I was I'm pretty sure it's in Mount Martha.
Yep.
It was in Mount Martha. Yep. We're in Mount Martha, came over to do some filming with you, and we jumped straight into it, but I did feel that you were a little bit reluctant, or maybe I don't know, but I'd love to hear what was going what was going on in your world as we were going through this process.
Yeah, cool. Great question. So let's go back. I think for the first lot, when I did them, the biggest thing was I hadn't really put my voice behind finance. So I'd already been I'd come from coaching space. I'd come from talking to large groups of people, facilitating, but I hadn't really owned my voice in the finance space and owned my voice in content creation from that space. And I knew what I was going to bring to the market was quite different to what I see anybody else in my space doing, just purely because of my coaching background. So I was a bit nervous in terms of I'm a little fish in the big broker pond, and how's it going to be received? Or because I'm talking about finance, is it just going to land and everybody's going to with a big snooze from everybody and crickets? And so my intention behind my first lot of videos that I did with you was to just bring some really basic 101 education about the finance landscape that most people just don't know because they don't deal with it every day. And also to bring a level of empowerment to sort of help people when they are in the finance space to navigate it confidently, so they know exactly what they're being spoken to. And just share the stuff that I was sharing on a day-to-day basis. That didn't mean, though, that I still didn't get the underarm sweats, the top lip sweats, and all of them, the hot flushes for the first time being, on camera about it, even though that I talk about it so naturally every day in my sleep, upside down, back to front, but still that first time of really putting my voice and ownership behind, this is who I am in this space, this is what I do, and this is what you need to know to feel empowered, was a big the I guess just the shifting and warping of reality. It's really easy to hide behind something as opposed to really put a peg in the sand and own it.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those listening who don't know what it is that you do, how would you explain it? So
I would say that I am a finance broker, and essentially Lifestyle Finance is what I like to think of is a 5D money portal that takes 3D matrix money out of the matrix and then restores it to its original form of abundance, expansion, co-creation, fun, play, joy, and then releases it back into the hands of new earth business owners or people wanting to help build and shift and create the new earth by partaking in education programs to really anchor those frequencies, because when it's released back into the world through that intention, that we really start to build the new earth. And to context, I'm not a standard finance broker. Particularly, we finance education programs for coaches, mentors, a lot of online business. So that's like, of course we do all the other stuff, but that's really where we sit.
Awesome. Yeah, perfect. And so you said, so I want to take a step back. One of the things that you said was, you're not like, obviously you have these conversations on a consistent basis with your clients. Like things that the stuff that you're talking about on video is stuff that you obviously knew, prepared for, and everything else. What is the most daunting part about what do you feel is different about standing in front of a camera as opposed to like from memory at that time, you'd like had you spoken to different audiences, or was that a little bit later?
No, one. I'd spoken particularly about audiences about different things plenty of times, but finance, I'd only done it once, twice on a bigger platform publicly.
So what would you say is the biggest thing? What's the biggest difference between either standing in front of a camera as opposed to obviously standing in front of an audience, other than the obvious is the fact that there's people? But what are some of the things that you went through to, I guess, overcome that process?
Dialogue. The biggest thing would be dialogue. So when you're in a conversation with somebody, it's really easy for you to bounce and move off how they're responding and interacting with what you're sharing. So it's very easy to calibrate to where they're at and what they need to hear next. When you're purely speaking to a camera and speaking to your audience, you really need to have the intention that the camera is your ideal client and that you're purely sharing with them what they need to know, whatever the intention of your video is. And be prepared enough that you're not going to be able to pause and go, does that make sense? And hope to receive some kind of feedback for them to help you direct on to the next point. So the biggest thing is being organized and structured in how it is that you want to lay out the journey you want to take them on in your video, knowing you're not going to be able to get that bounce back.
Yeah. I love that. That was a great explanation. And this is exactly right. Obviously it's a different vehicle, different platform, but it's understanding that you sort of need to hold your own, don't you? Without that, again, just reflecting on what you said, holding your own, knowing that I'm going to speak to the camera and the camera's not going to speak back to me. I need to just keep going, obviously. And I'm assuming, I may be putting this in these words in your mouth, but I'm assuming it's something along the lines of knowing that you're almost envisioning and imagining someone watching your video. And even if you do ask a question, you're sort of responding, knowing that I'm helping them have that conversation, even if it's just a non-verbal thing for them. Is that sound about right?
Yeah, pretty much. So I remember one of my really good friends, she's gorgeous, and she did a lot of modeling when she was younger. And because I have this joke that usually when I stand in front of a camera for a photo, I tend to Chandler Bing it. I'm like, somehow I just can't get it right. Anyway, but she was saying like the best way, the difference between a photo, and this is the same with video, the difference between something that connects and something that doesn't connect is that when you're looking into the camera, make that the eyes of the person. Don't think about it as a group. Think about it as the individual, the eyes of the individual that you're wanting to connect with and feel their heart through that portal. And when she said that to me, that's when I was like, I get it. So the camera no longer became this scary thing that was just like staring back at me, giving me no feedback, to somebody that I really care about, that I really want to have a conversation with, and that I really want to serve.
Oh my God, I might have to borrow that.
Go for it.
That was brilliant. I love that analogy. That's spot on. It's really feeling the heart and really envisioning who it is that you're talking to and everything else. So fast forward, you've obviously gone through, we've done multiple, video sessions on multiple different topics and different types and all those other things. What's some of the things that you've seen as a result, or not only of filming, but also now that we're obviously publishing it to all the different channels and doing, we're also looking, do we look after your email list, or do you do your own email list?
I do that.
Yeah. But it's obviously one of the most important parts is obviously getting it out to your socials, making sure you're engaging your email list as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what's been some of the things that you've seen as a result of stepping forward, stepping out, and having these pieces go out into the world?
Great question. This one's been huge for me. So when I started working with you, it wasn't because I guess needed to do marketing in the traditional sense. My business was very much built on joint ventures
and referrals.
And referrals. And because of the uniqueness of my positioning within the marketplace, I'm the only person in that space that's really doing what I'm doing the way I'm doing. So I've been really fortunate from that sense. However, when you approached me for this, I saw this really awesome opportunity where I could do these marketing pieces in a way that felt good for me, that excited me, and it was casual, and there was no pressure on having to get this thing done or release this campaign and then pressure of it converting. And I think being that I came from that space, I've had such phenomenal results with this. I was literally just going back and looking at my numbers the other day. This year, there's been on 3 occasions where we've done over $1 million a month into the personal development and online business space. The other months since April, this is where and we started releasing the last lot of videos. Again, I've been averaging anywhere between I think our lowest month was $680,000. So these are big numbers that we're taking out of 3D matrix and putting into high around money, high around business owners, new earth education, into ascension, which is really helping the world shift. And of course, it has made a significant difference to my bottom line. But it's created trust in the market space. I've been able to provide information to people that they can actually tangibly do something with.
Yep.
And even so, actually yesterday, 1st of September, I hired my second broker, because it's also—
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been something they've been wanting to do for so long, finally on board. But I think having the video presence, because it's been a year and a half now, and just that consistency building, it's given me that level of trust within the marketplace where the monthly amount of clients coming through the brokerage is consistent enough where I can continue to grow and scale. And sort of that tipping point where it will just continue to grow.
Yeah. I'd love to ask, so one of the things you've obviously mentioned is what you do is so unique. And it doesn't sound like you necessarily needed to do video, but given what you do is unique, is there an element where there's a need to educate and build that trust? I'd love to understand how you see that piece, given what you do is so unique, and is that important to share?
Great question. Yeah, absolutely. So being that there's never really been finance for coaching programs. Usually most coaches would use something like Easy Debit, which just debits their clients' bank accounts every week, month, however they choose. However, if the client misses a payment, then Easy Debit will try again, but there's no real relationship management there. So what can happen is that I guess coaches can end up being debt collectors instead of doing what they love with their clients. And being that I'm bringing a finance product that completely alleviates that product, and the relationship the client has is with the bank, this is really new. So I actually had a really big client come on board, I think not last month, the month before, who I'd known about, we'd been working with, but they hadn't really been putting much through. But it was because one of the videos that I did with you that they saw, it was one of the questions you asked me, it had them totally revamp one of their products, and they've been putting through a considerable volume since then because of seeing that video, purely from awareness, because it's not this is a new product to the coaching space and a new way of offering payment to clients for coaching programs, masterminds, and mentorships. So it's absolutely key that I've got this level of presence now where I can say, this is what I do, this is how we can help you, and this is the difference it's going to make to your business and also your client.
Yeah. Well, obviously what you've just shared is absolute music to my ears. And what I'd probably also like to ask from your point of view is the fact that obviously there was one video that you're talking about that obviously has then generated a conversation that's then been like a really big piece for your business. Given obviously that one question, would you have thought to do a video on that? Or is like, because all I'm trying to get at is obviously it's not just one video that's going to exponentially grow your business, is it? It's multiple different pieces in different ways. But I'd love to hear like what your thoughts on that whole thing is.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I get, or one of the perception things that I really want to align here, that if somebody is looking at working with you and doing videos with you, that they're not looking at it from the, I'm going to do this and it's going to make me X amount of money instantly. Yeah. Because it's not it's not, well, it can be. In my case, it did convert and translate really quickly. However, the power behind what you're offering creates long-lasting trust and awareness and consistency in the marketplace, which is what then has people go, that's the person I want to work with. Yeah. At the level of professionalism that yourself and your team put into the creation of the videos gives my business an even greater level of professionalism and presence, which makes me even more trustworthy. So, I think it's this, like looking at the long-term scope of the project, and that for me, this is we're doing a video a week now for that purpose of being able to brand awareness, platform credibility, to really help people navigate that space and also create awareness, because that's really what it's about. And that's where a brand gets longevity and it gets trust in the marketplace and it becomes a leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And just from like all the things that you said, I think the most important thing that I heard that you shared is obviously professionalism. All those other things are great, but that consistency key, consistency of a strategy and building throughout, because off one of those videos then creates this conversation. That's a really big piece for you. Off that consistency, is obviously different opportunities, different clients and different things. And there's so many obvious things that it can create, not only in business, but trust in general. Again, your brand awareness, education, and all those other things. So thank you for your time, Kelly. Now, you also did mention as well, so Darren, who came and filmed with you. So given the lockdowns and everything else, we've partnered up with a local videographer in Victoria named Darren. What was your experience with Darren recently?
I love Darren. We had such a great time. He's so easygoing. He totally fits in with what you want to do. He's got great scope. He can do things as simple as like come in, set up, press go, let you film, which was sort of what I was after. Or he can go as complex as really helping draw out of you what it is that you're wanting to communicate. There's a couple of things that he did that I really loved, which was the times where I was delivering my video where I wasn't as on point or as sharp as he had seen me in earlier videos. He just stopped me instantly in my tracks and went, no, you know what, I'm going to stop you there. Let's start again. So I really like that, because he was really a custodian for the integrity and the quality of how my video was being created. Like to the things, he would see things in the background outside being like, nope, that's in my field, like that's in my scene. And he'd go out and he'd move things around so that it was, his attention to detail was phenomenal. He had me like check each frame before we like moved on to a different thing to make sure that how I was looking in the video and what was being captured, that I was happy with. It was great. Awesome. I really, really loved working with him.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for your time. Is there anything else that you'd like to share? If someone was interested in working with us, was sitting on the fence, what would you have to share as advice?
I'm gonna roundabout answer that question. So I'm gonna come back to say, for anybody thinking, I don't know what to share about my business, or I've just got one thing that I really want to share, my advice would be to learn to say what's cool about your business and how you do your thing multiple different ways, because not everybody's going to receive it in the same way that you share it. And even if you've got the same video that's similar but said 5 different ways, it might not connect with that person, but it will connect with the next person. And also, again, it just, repetition does build that level of credibility. And I guess your business is worth it. Your message is worth it. Your platform is worth it. Like, take the jump, because when you start doing this and you're doing it from I'm building consistency and I'm building presence. It's a really fun process. Like every time I go back around and do more videos with you, like I see the shift in the quality and even the depth of the content that I'm talking about. And as I grow and unfold in business, it grows and unfolds as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly. Really appreciate your time and having the conversation. I know there's a little project that we're looking forward to doing together once I can finally come down and everything else. Actually, I'd love to know, what was that project?
The Kindness Challenge?
Yes.
Yes. So as you explain what it is, what I want to do with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things with the Kindness Challenge. So one of the I guess one of my own personal qualities that I get complimented on a lot for is my kindness and my generosity. And I would like to, I guess, show that in a way, particularly being what's coming out of the first lot of lockdowns last year, because in Victoria, I think we spent over 200 days in lockdown. And I really wanted to do something then. However, things just didn't align to show, like, even though we've been separated for so long, kindness is still available.
Yeah.
Now that this has been going on so long and there's been so many different conversations that have created such a split in so many different groups, I want to do an experiment to see what happens when you respond kindly to somebody now.
Yeah.
Like, you help them with their groceries, or, you know, whether you pay for their lunch, or whether you, I don't know, just make somebody's life a little bit easier. How do they respond? Because we've been the conversation that's been the main narrative.
That's all right. That's all right.
Mia. So the conversation and the narrative for more than 18 months now has been about separation.
Yeah.
And there's been things encouraged within the collective, things like dobbing on each other and just like all these behaviors that are not
petty stuff. Yeah.
petty stuff that are not kind. So
Yeah.
I want to, like, the experiment's kind of evolving in terms of like how I want to roll this out with you. But I definitely want to see how people respond. I want to have conversations around, like, how do they feel about receiving kindness now? Like, what impact has it had, this whole narrative that's been pumped into the collective for the last year and a half of separation? What does it have had on our natural instincts of kindness and generosity and compassion? And I'm super curious to go test this out on the streets and
boom.
See
So
what
am I. So am I. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again so much for your time, Kelly. It's been amazing. Yeah, thank you.
Always a pleasure.